Hi, and welcome to the third episode of the Emmy Awards. This is the first one I'm filming. I don't know why I'm out of breath. I always start these out of breath for some reason. Maybe I'm just out of shape or maybe I'm nervous. Maybe both. So this is the third one I'm filming, but it's only my second week because last week I had 2 episodes out. This week there will only be one. I'm only planning on having one episode a week every Thursday. So after you read your Kenyon College, you can come watch my podcast. That was a joke. But you really should read the Collegian. I love the Collegian. Big fan. I miss designing it a lot. But speaking of Kenyon, I really want to do a whole episode dedicated to my college experience because I have a lot to say about it. But in my brain, for some reason, like narrative structure, I kind of feel like I need to talk about high school and like elementary school and that kind of stuff first to kind of explain my relationship with academia and school before I get into college. I don't know why. I don't know if that makes any sense. I also have a specific story I want to tell about my high school experience, which will probably be the title of this episode. And if you clicked on it because you're mad about that, I'm probably going to make it, I got reported for being racist against white people or something along those lines because that's a true story. And look, I'm not trying to have a discussion about whether you can be racist against white people. That's a whole other conversation, okay? I think whether or not you believe that reverse racism exists, you will listen to my story and you will genuinely think that it's hilarious because it is hilarious and kind of absurd that I got reported for being racist against white people because of why I was reported and how I was reported. Anyways, I'll get to that in a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about my elementary school experience first and middle school, and then I'll get into high school. I'm going to try not to make this too sad of an episode. So I'll probably skip over, like, I was horribly bullied. Ha ha ha. You know, I don't think I want to talk about that in this episode. So I'm just going to tell fun little stories about my childhood and my relationship, I guess, with school. So I was born in Venezuela. If you know, you know. By that I mean if you know me, you know that because it's like a big part of my identity. So I was born in Venezuela. I moved to the U.S. I don't really remember much of, like, you know, being like 3 and onward, but I'm sure I went to preschool and kindergarten and all of that. My first memory of school is either 2nd or 3rd grade, or maybe both. I went to a Catholic school, and it was fine. I remember like having no issues with my Catholic school. I was still very religious, and I enjoyed the school for the most part. I've never been against uniforms, or at least I don't remember, like, having problems with uniforms because I'm a horribly indecisive person. My parents watch these podcasts, so maybe they'll be like, Emma, you hated wearing a uniform. Maybe I did. I don't remember that. So if I did, Monique and Pablo, please let me know. I'm sorry if that was fake news. I'm only speaking on my recollection. You were a fully formed adult when all of this happened. I don't remember. All I remember is I don't really have any negative connotations with, like, uniforms or really many negative experiences with my Catholic school. Like, it was fine. I was there when I was young. I believed in God. It was a fun time. I have nothing to say about that experience except that it was fun. Like, I genuinely don't remember anything negative. I think I went to Catholic school at a really good age because I was still, like, a child, and I wasn't at a point where I was really questioning a ton of things, including religion. So it wasn't like I wasn't in a rebellious stage or, like, had problems following rules because I was, like, 7. So nothing negative to say. I remember being upset when I left that school because I was like, what's the point? But my parents have 3 kids, and we're all really close in age. I'm a twin, and then my brother's only, like, a year older than us, like, literally a year. He's only 13 months older because my parents are Swifties. That's a joke. But he is 13 months older than me. Hi, Maddie. If you're somehow watching this, you probably aren't. But yeah, so we're all close in age, and it costs a lot of money to send 3 kids to private school. So why were they going to do it? You know, my county had really good public schools, so we just transferred to a public school. And I also have really good memories of this school. I do. I don't know if I should say the schools I went to, so I'm not going to. But it was a really nice school. I had friends. Like, I remember liking it. I do remember getting in trouble for carving my name into a tree. I had, like, a little group of friends. It was fine. I also remember vividly, this is one of the only, like, I have, like hazy memories, but this is one of the most, like, vivid memories I have of this school. I was new. And a lot of the kids had been going there, like, since they were, like, in kindergarten to first grade, and I was, like, a 3rd grader. Or, was I? Yes, I went there for 3rd and 4th grade. And this girl in the bathroom one day, like, I was just washing my hands, and she was like, my mom said I need to be friends with you because you're new and you don't have any friends. And I was like, thanks. She never spoke to me again. Don't remember her name, don't remember anything beyond this interaction. I feel like that was one of the first moments where I was like, I don't have friends. Like, I don't know. Also, who says it like that? I guess, 3rd graders. But, yeah. And then 4th grade was fine, too. I remember being really upset when after 4th grade, I moved to Brazil. I talked a little bit about living in Brazil in another podcast episode, but Brazil was not the time for me. I really did not like living in Brazil. I didn't know Portuguese. I was really pissed off at my parents. Obviously, they had no control over where we were moving. It was just where my dad got transferred. But I was so pissed off. I was like, of all the countries in Latin America, we moved to the one where they don't speak the language I already know. Like, it was horrible. It was really horrible. And it was like, the beginning of puberty. So kids are just mean. It was overall an unpleasant time. Although I do remember at the beginning of the year, one of the girls in my grade had a party, like a birthday party, and she invited me and my sister because she invited everyone in our grade. And I remember not really wanting to be around many of the kids because I didn't know any of them that well, but I remember, or maybe this was at the end of the year. I remember it being towards the beginning of the year. Regardless, it was towards the beginning of my time in Brazil. I remember them being like, the mom of the birthday girl was like, trust me, like, you'll hate it now that you're here, but when you're about to leave, you're really going to be sad and you're really going to, like, miss it. And I was like, yeah, sure, okay, don't believe you. But Brazil was just, like, not a good time for me for many reasons. I was very nerdy. I read all the time. And I also kind of had a superiority complex, which in retrospect, like, I was kind of like an annoying little kid. But I came from the United States of America, and I feel like they really teach you when you're a kid that the United States of America is the best country on earth. And so even though I was an American, like, I did have an American education. So I was like, none of these people speak English well. Like, I was like, low-key, like, in retrospect, it was kind of offensive. And I don't know why I thought that way, because it, like, I grew up, like, in retrospect, a lot of the thoughts I had towards these other kids was, like, things that people said to me when I moved to the United States and I couldn't pronounce words. Like, why would I honestly think, in my recollection, I wasn't outwardly mean. I didn't, like, bully kids for, like, speaking English not as well as I did. I think they didn't like me upon meeting me, so I think it was a bit of a defense mechanism. I think I kind of developed, like, caring about school and feeling like I'm smart as a defense mechanism a lot. And so I was like, I'm smarter than them. Just really because I felt like I was less than. Like, I don't actually think that I was smarter than any of them, or that I genuinely felt that way. I think I just needed something to not feel absolutely horrible about myself and my self-worth. So I was kind of annoying, but I think a lot of kids are just annoying at that age, and you kind of, like, find what you can. And it's really like, I've written about this before, not in anything that's ever been published, but I've written about this before, and I've thought about it a lot before, that I think I was always aware of things that made me different, like as a kid. Like, obviously there were things I couldn't pronounce super well, or I remember like instances like that when I was younger. I remember one time somebody asked me where I was from, and I said Venezuela, and they were like, what's that? And it was like the first moment where I really felt foreign. And then after, in retrospect, like, I remember thinking that they looked at me like I was from another planet. And I remember when I learned that alien is a word used for immigrants, I was like, that feels awfully fitting, because I felt that way before. So, yeah, so there were moments where I felt different, but I think for the most part, by the time I was in 3rd and 4th grade, I was pretty integrated, so I felt okay. And then I think moving to another country and trying to learn another language all over again, I think it really like added to the fact that I felt so different and so like out of place. And nobody is nice at that age. Being foreign really doesn't help. So it was not a good time in my life, and I could tell stories about Brazil a lot. I don't really think I will. I'm trying to remember any. Oh, I do remember. Fun fact about me. I started taking human growth hormone when I moved to Brazil. Unrelated. I was just starting puberty, and that's like when they recommend you take it. All I remember is every single time I met with an endocrinologist, she'd be like, this is where you are in your puberty, and so we have this much time left for the human growth hormone to like be good of use or whatever. Anyways, so that was a whole thing. I was on human growth hormone. I remember, like, this is such a funny story. Okay, one funny story about Brazil, and then I'll move on. So, or maybe I should just not try to constrain myself. But anyways, Brazil is just like, there's a lot there. So how much do I want to tell? But this story I just thought of. There was like a camp that you would go to every year. And I really didn't like the camp. I had to be away from my parents and like live with these. I was like, nobody here likes me. I don't want to have to live with them. And I just started human growth hormone, and I wasn't telling people because I felt weird about it. But somebody heard that I had, but this is why. I had, obviously, to take my human growth hormone when I was on this trip, but my parents weren't there. So they gave it to the nurse to administer it to me, because I wasn't injecting myself or anything. And so, like, every night I saw the nurse. And so, like, I'm mumbling. So it got out that Emi had some medical thing, right? Like, Emi has a medical secret. Emi has a medical secret. Because I just didn't want to tell people. It wasn't anybody's business. And this girl comes up to me. We are not close. I do not know her. And she goes, so, like, will you tell me what's going on? And nobody showed me much interest, so I kind of wanted to. And I was like, I don't really know. Like, I was kind of, like, I didn't want them to use it against me somehow, because anything, they made fun of me for reading, like, they made fun of me for everything. I was like, I'm not going to tell you something, like, personal about my medical, like, history that, like, I'm kind of feeling weird about, and then have you, like, be like, Emi's a freak, she takes human growth hormone. So I didn't want to tell people, but she looks me in the eyes and she goes, are you pregnant? And I was 9. I hadn't gotten my period yet, TMI, but, like, there was no way I could have been pregnant. Which, like, I know some people get their periods at 9, but, like, I was behind on my puberty. That's why I was taking human growth hormone, okay? I was like, no, I'm not pregnant, okay? It was just so bizarre. And then, because I didn't want her telling people that I was pregnant, I was like, I'm on human growth hormone. I don't even know if she ended up telling people. I don't really remember. I think eventually people just, like, learned, and, yeah, it was, anyways. And then it was kind of like, but that was just a funny story. I was like, what do you mean, am I pregnant? Weird times. And I moved back to the United States going into 7th grade. And so I was there for 5th and 6th grade. And I remember when you transfer back into the county I'm in, I guess I can say Montgomery County. I'm not going to say what school I went to. Actually, I might actually for high school. But when you transfer back into Montgomery County from going to school, like, internationally or abroad or whatever, you, like, have to they have to like make sure that you did like the requisite credits or whatever, because schooling is different. But I went to an IB school, so it was like on the same schedule and everything. And I remember like when they were like registering us again to be in this county, they were like, okay, so she's gonna start 5th grade. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, your school doesn't count. And I was like, I literally lost my mind. And then it turned out they read it wrong, and they were like, okay, 7th grade. And then middle school, also a bad time. I don't know how much I want to talk about. I'm sorry. High school, I promise that I will talk a lot about. But middle school, I transferred in as a sophomore, and the school I went to in Brazil was an IB school, but it wasn't American. So I had primary school and secondary school, so I'd never been to a middle school. And you start primary school in Brazil at 7th grade, not 6th. You graduate primary school in 6th grade instead of 5th grade. My brother actually had 2 graduations technically from elementary school / primary school, because he graduated from his elementary school in the United States in 5th grade, and then did 6th grade and graduated there. I only graduated once, and it was 6th grade, and I didn't have an elementary school graduation. But in retrospect, who cares? So I moved back in 7th grade, and I went straight to the middle school I would have gone to if I hadn't gone to Brazil. So the middle school that fed into the middle school that the elementary school I was going to before I moved to Brazil fed into. So I knew a lot of the people, and it was just weird. Like it was so weird. And I was only there for 2 weeks because we moved back and we moved into the house that we had lived in before, because my parents just rented it out because we weren't moving to Brazil long term. It was supposed to be 3 years, and then we did 2 years when my dad. Anyway, who cares? You don't care. Maybe you do. But we came back in 2 years, even though we were supposed to be in 3. So we stayed in the house that we had been living in before, that my parents rented out when we went to Brazil. And we were there for like a little bit. I remember the house I lived in Brazil was really big because my dad's job was paying for part of it. And we lived in a city, so like the house was just bigger than the house I had lived in before. So I had my own room for the first time ever when I was living in Brazil. So I remember coming back, and the room that I shared with my sister in our house in Maryland felt so small to me. I was like, So then we moved to the house I live in now with my parents, and the high school is different for this area code, so I had to transfer high schools. I remember it wasn't even like 1 quarter, like it was 2 weeks, and I remember being like, can I finish out the quarter? Like something, because my classes, like I was like, nothing's going to transfer over, I'm going to be behind in my classes. Like I was like, can I just finish the quarter? And I remember like some administrator sitting me down and being like, your taxes are no longer going to go to this school, so you can't go here. And I was like, but please, and they were like, sorry, sucks to suck. And I transferred to, I'm like debating whether I should say, I transferred to Cabin John Middle School, okay? I went to Cabin John Middle School. Who cares? I do not have much to say about Cabin John Middle School because I blocked it out. Like, genuinely, I blocked it out. I know I said that I wasn't going to talk about being bullied, and I'm really not trying to get into the nitty-gritty. But even though, like I've said, I had moments where I felt like I was different, middle school is just like where self-esteem goes to die. Genuinely, if you had a good time in middle school, I'm happy for you. Like, good for you, couldn't be me. And adjusting back from living in Brazil, like, I really, by the time I adjusted living in Brazil, I was like, okay, I have another year left, because I was told that I was going to live there for 3 years. And then it was like sprung on me that I was moving back to the US, and I was like, I'm not ready. Like, I'm not ready. And it was just unbelievably frustrating for me. And I had been moving like back and forth so long that I was like, Jesus Christ, can I stay in one school for more than 2 years? So I don't even remember the point of, what was I saying? Me not going to talk about being bullied. Anyways, like, I had already been bullied in Brazil because those kids were not very nice to me. not in the mood to get upset about it. So I don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't want to talk about the extent. But it was just anything you can think about. They made fun of my personality, my looks, everything. And I don't think that when I came back to the U.S., like, I remember, like, all of those anti-bullying campaigns. I don't remember that when I was in elementary school or when I was living in Brazil. So I genuinely, until I got to middle school, I don't think I understood that I was being bullied, because it felt like it was just me. Like, I remember being like, okay, it's because I'm foreign, whatever, I don't speak the language. And then a couple new kids came in, and neither of them spoke Portuguese either, and everybody loved them. And I was like, what is it about me then? Because it's not just about me being foreign. So it was just like, it was not... Oh my god, I have another really funny story about Brazil. Okay, rewind back to Brazil, and then I'll get on to middle school. So, like I said, we went to this camp thing at the beginning of every year, and stuff like that. But then the 6th graders, after you went through your, like, family, like, sex unit, you know, all of that, reproductive unit, all of that, to prepare you going into secondary school, they have you go to this other camp where you have to cook, like, you're paired off into groups and you have to cook breakfast. You have to, like, learn to take care of yourself to the best extent you can. And right at the end of it, I think, or maybe it was halfway through, I don't remember, we had a scavenger hunt activity. Because we had different activities, but then, like, also every night, well, every morning, lunch, and dinner, like, a different group would be set to cook for the day. And so we went on the scavenger hunt. It was all fine and dandy. They pair you off into a group, and we had 2 chaperones. And so we're hiking, you know, doing a little scavenger hunt. And we're going through, like, the woods, and I feel like a prick. So I'm like, oh, it was probably, like, a bush or something that, like, stuck into me. So I kept walking, and then I felt it again. And I was like, there's no bushes around me, so what the hell is happening? And the nurse was on my thing, and I, like, look down on my leg, and I see ants going all up my leg. And I'm like, there are literally ants in my pants. And that's not even the most mortifying part of this story. So the nurse was one of my chaperones, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And she pulls down my pants. She just pulls down my pants in front of these 2 guys who have already made fun of me a bunch of times. And I'm like, please leave. And I'm like, she's just, like, trying to solve the issue. But I'm like, how is you, like... I was, like, mortified. I was like, it was horrible. And then one of the kids on my team was, like, an asshole. So then he went back and told everybody that Emi had ants in her pants, and it was like I was laughing stock that entire field trip. And then one of the teachers at that school called me ant after that. And I'm like, that's not funny. Like, low-key, that's not funny. Like, you can't control what the kids do. Also, I'm sorry if the audio has been weird. I don't know if I'm being too loud or if it's too close. I'm still figuring this out. But anyways, you can't control what kids do to some extent, and kids are mean. But I don't understand how you as a teacher would, like, keep the joke running. Like, why? So anyways, and that's just, like, one example of, like, unfortunate things that happened to me when I was living in Brazil. Like, genuinely... positive things that happened when I was living in Brazil. I remember that frozen yogurt was really big in Sao Paulo, and we used to just try all the different frozen yogurts, and I was super into frozen yogurt for a little bit. That rocked. I saw Tangled in theaters before it came out, which I mentioned in another story, in another podcast. So, like, some positives about me living in Brazil, and it's a good story. I have a lot of good stories. I also ruined a surprise party. I mentioned that in another podcast as well. So many stories about living in Brazil, but that one is just one that I feel like is very important to my time there. So anyways, back to middle school. So middle school was, like, not a good time for me either. And people just kept being mean. Again, I don't remember a ton because I blocked a lot of it out. But people were just mean to me. And I kind of poured myself into school because it was, like, the only thing that I felt like I was good at. So I was like, School really mattered to me. And this is important for my high school experience. So I just remember being like, I might not be the prettiest, I might not be anything else, but I'm smart. I also remember that while a lot of people didn't like me, I did have a decent group of friends in middle school, and I was like, well, these people who don't like me, they just don't know me. They don't know me, and that's okay. Like, people dislike people when they don't know them, and maybe I'm just kind of weird, and then when you get to know me, you're like, okay, she's cool. So nobody liked me except like the few friends I had, and I actually, oh my god, this memory was just like resurfaced. My brother went to a magnet school, and I applied to go to that same magnet school, and it was this big thing of like, am I going to go to the magnet school, am I not? And ultimately it was because I finally like felt like I had a decent group of friends that I was like, okay, no, I'll go to this high school I'm supposed to. And honestly, in retrospect, I'm glad I didn't, because I think it was really good for my relationship with my brother. Sorry, my grandma said I talk too fast and she can't watch these, but I'm like worried about going too long, so part of me is like, I need to say everything all at once. But I think it was good for me and my brother to have space, and I did make a lot of really good friends in high school ultimately, so I'm glad with my decision. Plus, my brother told me that the IB program is just like a lot harder, like really intense, and AP classes like teach you just as much and are just as prestigious. So I'm glad I didn't go to an IB school. Okay, whatever. Not that I like my high school, but I try not to live with many regrets. I have some regrets of how I could have handled things better, but about big choices in my life, like things like that, or going to Kenyon, I don't have any regrets. So, yeah, middle school was not good, but I went into high school being like, this will be better. I know I'm good at school. I know at least when high school's over, I'll be working towards a goal, which is college. Like, I went into high school nervous, but feeling okay. And my first year of high school was horrible, like truly horrible. This academics wise, it was fine. It's hard because I'm like 22 now. I'm going to be 23 in like less than like 6 months. Actually, today is February 21st when I'm filming this. My birthday is June 21st. So like 4 months, baby. Anyways, crazy. My Taylor Swift year just flew by. But, like everything in high school, in retrospect, I'm like, that was so easy, but academics wise. But I remember getting to high school, and in middle school, like nobody cared that much. Like nobody cared that much. Like I cared way too much in retrospect for middle school. I'll never forget. This was, I think, in world, like, history or something. It was some social studies class. I didn't study for a quiz, or I was just stressed out that day or something. But all I remember is that I didn't, like, write many things, and I wrote, I'm sorry, at the bottom, and I got a D. And the teacher was like, Emi, what's wrong? This isn't you. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I felt horrible about it. Like, I felt horrible about it. So I was just a little nerd in middle school, really cared about doing well, and I thought it really mattered. In retrospect, middle school isn't that important. I mean, it is if you're in middle school, because I think a big thing that I learned in high school is, like, a lot of people just, like, they take middle school for granted because it's not as important as high school for, like, building your future and getting into colleges and stuff. So people just, like, don't take it super seriously, and they don't learn how to study and do well in school, and then, like, that bites you in the ass. So I was like a little nerd in middle school, and I don't think I was the smartest person in my middle school, but I was one of the people who genuinely cared and put in the time, and I was good at school. And then I got to high school, and my high school was really competitive. I went to Winston Churchill High School in Potomac, Maryland. Yes, I'm saying them by name. I don't care. And it was very competitive, and I was like, I'm stupid. I had never felt stupid before. I always felt like I was smart. I liked to read. I dedicated myself to school. People, like, my teachers liked me. I was good at school. I liked school, and I always felt like I was good at it. Probably part of the reason I liked it, because I feel like I don't like school that much now. I mean, I did graduate, but college was really hard for me, and I think part of it was because I felt so stupid. And I used to love school because I felt smart, which I think is a really, like, I don't know, maybe not good way to approach learning, because I do love learning and I love growing. I hate being graded and that side of it. But I feel like a lot of my disdain for academia came in high school because of the competitive nature. So then I got to high school, and I remember I was like, not doing well in my math class. I'd always been better at English, but I was like fine at math, and I was like, I don't know how I'm doing math. Like, some kids my age were taking AP classes, and I was like, I don't know if I should take an AP class. Something that's really funny in retrospect is like my school would, like my middle school going into it was like, don't take an AP class your first year. And half the kids from my middle school, like the high school was made up of kids from my middle school and from another middle school. So a lot of those kids were taking AP classes, and even some kids from my middle school too. But I feel like my middle school really was like, don't take an AP class your first year. And I don't feel like the other kids got that advice, because a lot of people took AP US history their first year. And I didn't. I remember it was like this thing where it was like, you either take like honors chemistry or you take like AP, and people who take both are just like way too smart. And I was like, I don't know why I chose chemistry, but I did. I took honors chemistry instead of just like I don't know what the other was. I took honors chemistry, which I don't know why I took honors chemistry in retrospect. Science was never my strongest subject. I feel like history is a lot more like me, but anyways. So I didn't take AP US history. I wasn't doing that well in my math class. I didn't like honors chemistry. It didn't make much sense to me. And I just like felt stupid. Plus, I was not having the best time with the friend group that I loved so much, and was part of the reason I really wanted to go to that same high school. I mean, like in retrospect, a lot of people just grow apart and things happen. But I remember just being so frustrated, because I was like, can't people just tell me if they don't want to be friends with me anymore? Like, I just cannot. I think it would have hurt, but again, with the wishy-washiness and not being clear, like, I was just like, I can never tell. And I was putting so much effort into, like, caring about people. There's this one friend specifically who I'm not going to name, and she's never going to see this probably. I don't even remember her last name. But me and my sister, like, got her a really nice birthday present, and then she didn't invite us to a birthday party. And, saying that as an adult, I'm like, okay, you didn't get invited to a birthday party. But this was like an earth-shattering moment for me. Like, genuinely, I'll never forget this, because me and her had PE the same period. It was a Friday. Things had already been weird, like, she was acting weird, but never said anything about, like, I don't want to be your friend. I remember even, I feel like me and my sister were like, if you don't want to be our friend anymore, or, like, we're doing something wrong, please tell us. And she was just like, no, everything's fine. And our, like, gym lockers were, like, not right next to each other, but I could hear her. And she just started talking about her birthday party, which was tomorrow, that Saturday. And I remember, like, literally feeling like my world was ending. And I was like, I don't have any friends. Like, everything sucks. And I actually, funny story, that day, like, I think it was right after PE, like, after I got dressed and on my way to the next class, I texted my mother, and I was like, I need to see a therapist, because my mom had been recommending it for a while, and I was like, no, I'm fine. And I don't think I was, like, fine. Obviously, like, I was still processing. I had really low self-esteem because I was bullied for a long time, so I had issues. I obviously had issues, but I really was like, no. And then that moment was like, I think it was one of those first, like, moments where I remember genuinely being like, I like, just feeling so horrible about myself, because even when I felt bad about myself or ugly or any of those things, I always had something to go back on, or had people who cared about me. And I really just felt like the people I had in my life just didn't want to be around me. I remember I told somebody this, like, the first day of college, and, like, I cried because I had never, like, vocalized it, but it really, like, impacted me. Going into sophomore year of high school, I was literally like, I'm not gonna make friends. Like, I was one of those girls on The Bachelor who was like, I'm not here to make friends. That was my approach going into sophomore year of high school. I was like, I'm not gonna make friends, because, like, now it's not just the people who don't know me don't like me. It's people who know me and I feel like I've been myself with, and they don't like me either. that was genuinely, I felt like nobody was going to like me. I felt like if people got to know me, they'd eventually grow to dislike me. And I just couldn't deal with it. I really was like, I need to do well in school so I can go to college. And that was it for me. I was like, I'm here to do well in school and to put all my energy into the newspaper. And that was it for me. I genuinely was like, I'm not going to make friends. And I actually really wasn't trying to make friends in sophomore year, but I had a few people, some upperclassmen from the newspaper who kind of took me and my sister under their wings, and they were very nice to us for a bit. So those were kind of like the only friends I had sophomore year. Eventually junior year I did make really good friends, but I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, it was really hard for me. I was like, nobody likes me. I'm not that smart. Because at my school, no matter like how smart I was and how much I was doing well in school, it was like there was always somebody smarter. Like my high school was so competitive and so stressful. Oh my God, another story from freshman year. Okay, so I went on a journalism field trip, second semester, to New York City. Iconic, one of the best like field trips ever. I literally loved when we went to New York. I went a few times to New York for the Columbia Scholastic Press Association. It was always a great time. And it was always around St. Patrick's Day too, which is just so funny. But my county, or my state, I think it was the state of Maryland, was coming out with this new test called the PERK test to replace some other Maryland standardized test. And the high school picked random classes, like one random social studies class and like one random math class, stuff like that, to like be practice students. And the practice test was when I was in New York. And I missed it, and I kept trying to find a way to reschedule it. And all of the time that they wanted me to, I was like, I can't take it. Like, I don't have any time. And I remember I ran into the assistant principal because she was the one who was like emailing, or she had something to do with it. I didn't just go up to her randomly. And I saw her in the hallway one day, and I was like, I genuinely, I just don't have time. Like, is there any way I could be excused? Like, I went on a school-sponsored field trip, and I just, like, don't have time. And she says to me, I was 14 years old. She was a grown adult. She was like, you think I have time to do anything? I have a stack of papers on my desk that I'm never going to get to. I have all this to do. I have that. Don't tell me you don't have time to do things. Like, and I felt horrible. I was like, she's so right. And like, in retrospect, it's like, she's getting paid. I'm 14. It wasn't even a mandatory test. I was like a guinea pig to see if this test would even compare or be good enough or would make up in the places the other one lacked. Like, it wasn't that deep. And she was so mean to me. I'm not going to say her name, but I actually, my story about being reported for being a racist against white people, it comes back, she also has something to do with it. I'll get there. But anyways, like, I was literally flabbergasted. So, sophomore year, I was like, I'm not going to make friends. I really poured myself into the newspaper. Junior year, I did finally make a really good group of friends. One of whom said she listens to my podcast. So hi, Izzy, if you're listening. Thanks for listening. And that was really, I have to say, junior year, like, not to get deep, because I said I didn't want this podcast to be depressing. I think it was really the first year that I genuinely, like, remember feeling like I didn't want to be alive, or that my depression got that bad, I guess. Junior year was a weird time in high school, because it was simultaneously, like, the worst and the best. Although my best year of high school was my senior year of high school. Senior year was, like, junior year, I don't remember a ton about it, except that everything was super stressful. I was taking more AP classes than I had. It was just very stressful. I do remember, though, funny story about, I used to work for admissions at Kenyon, and I always like told stories as part of the info sessions. And it wasn't the first time I heard of Kenyon, and I didn't even register that it was connected to Kenyon until senior year, when I was like, oh my God, I want to go to Kenyon. One of the first, I think it was the first, but it's the first one I remember. One of the first close readings we did in my AP Lang class was the This is Water speech that David Foster Wallace gave at Kenyon. And that class I always credit to making me decide I wanted to be an English major. I, for a while, wanted to go to journalism school or pursue a journalism degree. And it wasn't until that class where I was like, I think I want to be an English major more than I want to be a journalism major. And then obviously I can pursue journalism as a career, do internship opportunities, stuff like that. But that class is what made me want to be an English major. And it's just funny because I ended up, one of the reasons I really liked Kenyon was because of their English program. So it's just like, it feels very meant to be to me. And I do believe in fate. But yeah, so that class I loved. That was a good year, all in all. Another funny story from my junior year. I was taking AP World History. AP World was one of those classes that everybody was like, this is one of the harder APs. And the first day of my AP World class, the teacher goes, hi, my name's, I don't even remember his name. I'm trying to see if I remember his name. It doesn't matter. And he was like, so I'm actually not going to be your teacher. I agreed to do this, but then I got a gig at National Geographic and I broke my contract and now I'm blacklisted from teaching in the state of Maryland, but I really wanted to take this job. So I'm going to be here for like 2 weeks until they find a replacement teacher, but I'm not going to be your teacher. And I was like, I'm screwed. Like, I'm screwed. I was like losing my mind. Like, not only was it like, and those 2 weeks he really like, he did teach us things, but it wasn't the same. And then my poor teacher, I'm Facebook friends with her now and she's lovely. Like, she was lovely. I really struggled in that class. Like, I genuinely did. I have so many memories of like just tanking the tests and like losing my mind because it was just so hard and there was so much to remember and I just don't have that great of a memory. I think that was when I was like, I'm not that great at history. It was a really, really tough class, but she just like was probably close to my age now. Like, she was like fresh out of college, fresh out of the teaching thing. Like, she had never taught before, let alone this class, so she was really figuring it out. She was really funny though. I remember she told us once, she was like, from some rural place, I don't know where, but she was like, diversity in my hometown was like, either you're a farmer or you're not a farmer. Which was kind of funny. She's lovely though. But that class, like, honestly, I was like, what do you mean you're not going to be my teacher? Part of me wanted to switch out. But anyways, that was like rough. And it was a hard academic year. Another class I took that I remember, I took this class and I was like, I'm not getting into college. I got a C in the class. Like, I'd gotten C's on tests and like I even gotten a few D's on tests in my AP World class, but I never got in like below a B in a class. Which now, as somebody who graduated college and like struggled academically in college, I'm just like, oh, simple young Emi being so worried about a C in a class. But I got a C in physics, and I genuinely was like, I'm not getting into college. That class was really challenging as well, emotionally and in general, because, I don't know, the teacher just wasn't the best teacher. I don't want to throw her under the bus either, but it was rough. It was a rough class. I had it first period, and the amount of times that she was late. Anyways, no hate to her, but that class, I feel like physics was just not, it didn't click with me, and that on top, it was very stressful. It was very stressful. Science was my weakest subject. Honestly, I was better at math. So, senior year was the best year of high school for me. I finally had a good group of friends. Monix, love you if you're listening. I know Izzy is, but if any of the rest of you are listening, I had a friend Bill who vlogged, and it was just so fun. When we went on to beach week / senior week, which I'll explain later, but when we did that, I helped vlog too, and it was just so fun. It made me want to be a vlogger. But And I still watch those videos sometimes. I made my friend Ezra watch the beach week vlogs because they make me very happy. But anyways, high school, senior year of high school was great. It really was. I knew that I wanted to go to Kenyon. I can't remember if when I took the ACT, but I got the score I wanted the first. I was like chilling. I was like the classes I was in. I loved my AP Lit class. I was chilling on the newspaper because I was we called it production manager, but it was basically like the design editor. I was the production manager for the second year, so I felt really comfortable in the job. Like I was just vibing for the most part. My high school senior year was kind of a shit show. Just Google Winston Churchill High School 2016, 2017, don't know when. But like there were a few race incidents. We had some chaos, and it was a rough year to be on the newspaper just because we were reporting a lot of hard stories. And then the amount of people who would come up to me and be like, the graduation robes. And I'd be like, I'd design it. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't write that article. I didn't interview anyone for that article. I have nothing to do with this. And even if I did write the article, we have nothing to do with the decisions or the things that are happening that we're writing about. Literally, okay, I am going to tell this one story because it is kind of like relevant to set the scene of the racial tensions or the racial whatever. To just what my high school was like. So then when I tell my own story, you can kind of see that maybe I wasn't the most racist kid in the school. Not that I was racist, but anyways. So somebody taped a whites only sign to a bathroom. And we found out about it, by we I mean the student body, when the Washington Post wrote an article about it. And we were like, why didn't the administration tell us? So when we wrote our news story covering it, I didn't write the story, but when the newspaper wrote the story, we were like, said something about how the administration was delayed in telling us, and they were like, what do you mean we were delayed? You don't know anyways. You don't know our policy, whatever. And then after another racist incident, they told us like the next day. So anyways, point is, my high school, there were racist kids. There just were, okay? There were. If you went to Winston Churchill High School and you want to fight with me that there was racism, I don't care. There were racist kids. There were. And it was also 2016 going to 2017, like right, very early Trump years. So like lots of tensions there. So a lot going on in my high school when it came to bigotry and people being offensive and horrible. So senior year rolls around. I'm in photography 1 because I needed to fulfill my art requirement. Now you're like, Emi, why didn't you take an art class sooner? And the answer to that question is that I was the production manager of the newspaper, and up until my junior year, the third year of journalism, of like journalism 3, always counted for an art credit. Like you did 2 years, and then the third year, like it would count as an art credit, or like maybe the other 2 years counted. Or the point is that I was under the impression for the first 2 years that I was on the newspaper that it was going to count for my art credit. I mean, I was designing a newspaper weekly. I mean, not by myself, but still, like I was doing a lot of creative work. So I thought that was going to count, and they literally changed it like my junior year or something, and I'd already registered for classes. So my senior year, I had to take photography, which honestly was fine because I dropped French my senior year. So it didn't really get in the way of any other classes I wanted to take photography. And it was really nice because it was a pretty chill class. And I was applying to colleges. So even though I technically only applied to one college because I got an early decision to Kenyon. So anyways, I was in a photography class, and there's a lot of downtime in photography classes in high school because there are only a certain amount of cameras. We did film photography, so you don't bring your own camera. I guess you could, but none of us had film cameras except maybe one kid. And so, like, there were days where you would either edit your photos, you would develop film, like, it was like a rotating. So I was just doing like desk work or something. I was sitting at a desk. And so me and my desk, we were talking about what television shows we like. And I was talking about Criminal Minds. I was talking about SVU. And I said that I am very scared of white men because statistically, white men are more likely to be serial killers. Or statistically, more serial killers are white men. And the reason I said this is because if you watch TV, you watch Criminal Minds, most of the serial killers are white men. Most of the perps on SVU are white men. Are there rare cases? Yes, but a lot of them are white men, right? Right. So I said this, went about my day. A few days later, I get called down to the office. Now, I was under the impression that somebody saw that I posted I wanted to die and they reported me because that had happened to my sister. And I was like, crap, somebody found my fan account where I said that I wanted to die, and now they won't let me go to school until I see a therapist and let them know I'm not a danger to myself or something. That's what I thought was going to happen. Or that it had something to do with the newspaper. I don't know. I put this in the back of my mind. I was talking about television shows. Right? Right. I get called down to the office, and I don't go to the counseling office. It's the assistant principal's office. Now, I never got into trouble. I did mention the last podcast that I was a menace in my Italian class. But that wasn't like through the school, and we never really got into much trouble, from what I recall. Maybe I did. But I was just kind of a menace in that class, and then nothing happened to me. But, so I got called down to the principal's office, and I was very emotionally fragile. It was first semester. I hadn't heard back from Kenyon yet, but I was like, set on going there. I didn't want to get into trouble. I didn't. I was just trying to, and it had been tense with like everything happening in my school. So I get called down to the principal's office, to the assistant principal's office. The same woman who, when I was 14, had scolded me about saying that I didn't have time to do things because she was very busy despite being an employed adult who got paid to do all the things that she was doing. And I was 14 trying to get out of something that wasn't even a requirement because I went on a school-sanctioned field trip. Right? Okay. Glad we're on the same page. So this woman, I'm like, what's up? Because I can't fathom there being a reason that I'm in trouble. Like, not to my own horn, but I hadn't done anything wrong, okay? So I'm like, what's wrong? And she's very serious. And she starts reading me an email. And the email, I can't quote it verbatim because I unfortunately do not have a photographic memory. But God, I wish I did. Because this email is a comedy bit in itself. But I was so mortified that I started crying. So she's like, she starts reading this email. And it's like, I am the mother of, and these are like actually like along the lines of what she said. I just don't know it, quote, verbatim. But this is the gist of what she said. I am, and I'll explain who she is later because she's reading an email. This isn't the assistant principal saying this. She's like, I am the mother of 2 white sons, and it disgusted me to see such blatant racism from Emiliana in photography class the other day. I overheard her saying that all white men are sex offenders, that all white men are serial killers, and I am disgusted as the mother of 2 white sons that she would say this. And she reads this email. It's a lot more detailed and a lot more harsh, but that's the gist. This woman is disgusted that I, as a young Latina woman, said I'm scared of white men. She twisted what I said. I never said all white men are serial killers. I said statistically white men are more likely to be serial killers. And that's just a fact. Google it. So, I don't know. So, I start sobbing because I was like, I'm not a racist. I'm a good kid. I'm not a racist. And she's like, the assistant principal was like, why were you talking about serial killers in your photography class? And I explained, I was like, we were talking about television shows. I watched the show Criminal Minds. Most of the serial killers are white guys. And it freaks me out, I just have to say. If there's one group of people on earth that I'm most afraid to be alone with, it's white men. And I'm sorry, that's just how I feel, and I stand by that. And so she's like, okay, and she sends me on my merry way. And I remember part of the reason I was so mortified is, still in the discussion, part of the reason I was so mortified is I really liked my photography teacher. And my photography teacher was white, and she could have had sons, so I was like, my photography teacher thinks I'm a racist. And I was like, who sent you this email? And she was like, oh, it's the paraeducator who works in your class. So a paraeducator basically helps students with disabilities, I guess. Like, helps them when they're not, like, in special ed classes, like, be accommodated or if they need stuff, I believe, is the gist. Anyways, the point is this woman was working with disabled students, and she was this horrible. So I was mortified, and I felt horrible about myself. And in retrospect, it's, like, so messed up that there was legitimate racism happening in that building. A lot of it towards, like, not a lot of it towards me, but some of it towards me, and a lot of it towards people I know. And from what, maybe I don't know the workings of this school. Maybe a lot of kids got sent down to the principal's office too. But it really seemed to me that for the most part, these kids were going about their life fine and nobody said anything to them. And I am talking about how most white men are that most serial killers are white men, and that I'm scared of white men for this reason, and I'm the bad guy. Mind you, some of my favorite people are white men. My favorite teachers, not all of them, but one of my favorite teachers was a white guy. He never said I was racist. If you're watching this somehow, you know who you are. Hi. You were my AP literature teacher. Love you if you're watching this. I don't know if he wants his name out there, but he was the best. Does he think I'm a racist? I would like to know. So anyways, I was mortified. I went about my day, felt really bad about it, even though in retrospect, like, what did I do wrong? And kind of steered clear of this woman for a while. And then second semester rolled around. I'd gotten into Kenyon. I was chilling. This photography class was so fun. And I didn't talk to her because why would I? She thought I was a racist. And so I was editing a photo on the computer one day, and she was like, are you a senior? We weren't talking. She was just sitting next to there because she was helping another kid who was editing at a computer. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, thank God we're getting rid of you. Ha ha, just kidding. Nobody laughed. That wasn't funny, ma'am. So anyway, she sucked. Makes me kind of sad that people like that are helping students with disabilities, because I don't know. I don't know how you, as a grown woman, I'm only 22 and like a half. But if I heard like a 17-year-old or I was 17 at the time, a 17-year-old saying that, a 17-year-old woman of color saying that she's afraid of white men, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, that's a threat to my white sons. Like, her white sons are fine. They weren't in the room. I didn't say this to their face. Did she go home and be like, I saw racism today. You as a white man are in danger. I don't know if it paused. I got thing about my Wi-Fi not working or something. But anyways, like, you as a white man are not in danger. If I genuinely hate you as a white man, you're not. How are you in danger? What was I going to do to her white sons? Because I was afraid of them? Like, okay. Anyways, so that was my high school experience. Not all of it, but some of the most notable parts. So yeah, I'm a racist. Comment down. I'm not. I don't think racism is funny. I don't. And genuinely, if somebody is like, I mean, that was offensive, I would think about it. I genuinely would. I'm not trying to like, but it just like, in retrospect, is so hilarious to me. And I always tell people this, and I'm like, I got reported for being racist against white people. And they're like, I mean, that didn't happen. And I'm like, I swear to God it happened. And the worst part is I felt guilty about it. I was embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I felt like I had done something wrong. I just don't think that's right in retrospect. I don't think it's right for this old white woman to be upset at me for saying negative things about white men. Even though I didn't say those generalized statements that she said I did, that all white men are sex offenders and all white men are serial killers. I never said that. I was talking about how most of the characters on television shows about serial killers are white men. That's all I said. And that I am afraid of white men. That is something I did say. And if that scares you as a white man, I'm sorry. But you are not in danger, and that is not being a racist. It's not like I see a white man and I like cross the street because I think he's going to hurt me. That's not what it is. Maybe that would be some implicit bias. But it's like, what is a white man going to do? I'm sorry. Did I hurt white men by saying that? At 17 years old? It makes me mad. It genuinely makes me mad because I had people who were mean at that school. People were racist and insensitive. But I get in trouble. Anyways, so don't remember her name. Be kind of funny if her name was Karen. But I don't think it was. That's beyond the point. The point is, that's a funny story from my time in high school. Honestly, I'm telling it because it always gets great responses. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, Emi, that happened," and I'm like, "Yes, it really did." Unfortunately, that's a true story, true to life. So, anyways, that happened to me. Great times, and then I graduated and went to Kenyon College, and that will be my next story time. Is my time at Kenyon College. I have lots to say, and I have a lot of opinions and thoughts about just stuff that's happening at Kenyon that I kind of want to talk about. But yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about Kenyon. But that was basically my high school experience. Oh, I'll talk about Beach Week really quickly, and then I'll wrap up because I'm already at over an hour. But Beach Week was really great. It's a tradition that we do here, in my town in Maryland. Anyways. Which this is, I'm not gonna, never mind. But, so Beach Week, super fun. We graduate before, like, school is technically over. So then there's, like, a week where, like, all the seniors go to the beach. It's the best time ever. I loved Beach Week. It was, like, truly peak high school for me. I loved it. It was actually where I made a Snapchat for the first time. Like, I don't even know why, but it was really fun. Vlogged a lot of it. Great memories from Beach Week. But that's basically what Beach Week is. But yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of positive experiences from my high school. A lot of really great teachers. A lot of really impactful classes. It brought me I just realized my microphone wasn't plugged in. And I don't know if that recorded anything. Hi, so I recorded a whole 4-minute outro and then my audio didn't save. We're really on struggle bus here at the Emi Awards, so my microphone wasn't plugged in. The original outro I filmed it with my microphone, but it didn't save, so I'm just recording this without the microphone, so all the audio will be the same. Sorry if it's not as good as the last one. So, what did I say in my last outro? That was basically my high school experience, or some of the better stories I had from my high school experience. Next week's episode will be about Kenyon, and my time at Kenyon. So hopefully either people who are interested in going to Kenyon, can watch it and learn a little bit more about the college, or just if you went to Kenyon, or stuff like that, you can relate to some things, or I don't know. I'm just going to talk about Kenyon. I have a lot to say about college, and I think those 4 years were the most transformative of my life, for many reasons. A little OOTD. I'm wearing my Game of Roses shirt, my 4TRR Game of Roses shirt. They should come out with more merch. I didn't get a Do You Who You shirt, and I really wish I did. And then I'm wearing my Lisa Says God crochet pants, which I feel like you didn't get a very good angle of this episode, but you can check them out on my Instagram, which will be linked below. So yeah, Kenyon episode next week. Don't totally know what I'm doing after that, but I decided what I wanted this one to be on a whim. So mostly because I want to talk about Kenyon, but I felt like I needed to explain high school. But maybe I didn't explain high school very well. I have a lot to talk about still for high school and Brazil and all of that. If you are curious about more stories of those, please let me know down below. I'll link everything down below, my Spotify, my Apple Podcasts, all of that. Anything relevant, my Twitter, my Instagram. Thank you for listening. I feel the need to apologize again for messing up my audio, but hey, I'm human, and like 10 people listen to these, and if you're one of those 10 people, I really appreciate it. Really, this is just for fun, and I'm enjoying it. I needed something to help me feel productive and creative and all of that at once. And I like talking about myself, and I like talking in general, not just about myself. I know this episode was a lot more like story time, like let me tell you about my history stuff, so I'm sorry if you want more pop culture takes from me or stuff like that. I'm happy to talk about all of that as well. The Euphoria episode with Lexi's play, so many thoughts about that, so many. First, Nate Jacobs saying, this is so homophobic. Since when are you an LGBT ally? Like, now suddenly Nate Jacobs is throwing bricks and stuff. Anyways, too many thoughts, head full. Lexi's my favorite character, and I was a high school theater kid, so definitely hit me right in the feels. But yeah, I have a lot to say about television, about movies, about all of that. The Bachelor, since I'm wearing a Game of Roses shirt, Clayton sucks. I mean, we all agree, right? Who's watching his season and being like, Clayton's the best? Nobody. Literally nobody. But anyways, I digress. So next week, Kenyon College, welcome to your tape. JK, unless. And let me know if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, things you want me to talk about. I will probably, after the Kenyon episode, or in a month, or in a little while from now, I'll probably do some kind of Q&A or question on my Instagram, like ask me, like not like give me ideas for a podcast, but like questions people want me to answer, or things people want me to talk about, or like share your most unpopular opinion and then I'll piggyback off of it, stuff like that. So I'll definitely do that at some point. Lots to say, lots to think about. I will probably do episodes dedicated to just not about me specifically, but right now this is what I wanted to talk about, so next week I can talk about college. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe or follow me on Apple Podcasts. I don't know if you subscribe or you follow, but either one, please do that on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to get notifications on when I post and all of that. But yeah, I mean, weekly podcasts every Thursday, but still, please subscribe. Thank you. Make sure to like, comment, all of that. It helps the algorithm or whatever. I don't know. Hope the audio wasn't too shabby. Next week's will be better. And yeah, the week after that will be better too. We're out here learning, growing. Thank you. So sorry. Oh, the Emmy Awards. I don't know if I gave one out. I know I did in the intro, the outro that got cut out. The Emmy Award for worst high school ever goes to Winston Churchill High School. Hate you. Yeah. Except the teachers that I loved. They made it bearable. But Winston Churchill High School, yeah. Dumbest reason for getting reported to the principal? Emi Cardinale for being racist against white men. So, yeah. Thank you. Let me know if you think I'm horrible. Kind of scared that this will reach somebody who will be like, Emi, how dare you be racist against white men? So if you're one of those people, please just like don't hate crime me. Thanks. Make sure to like and subscribe. Sorry, but thank you. Actually, no. I'm gonna stop saying sorry when I can just say thank you. Thank you for bearing with me despite the technical difficulties, despite lackluster audio, despite not the best quality. I hope what I'm saying is good quality, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. That's all that matters. I've now gone close to an hour and 10 minutes. So sorry. Thank you. Not sorry. Thank you.